Hey guys, and welcome to another video. I'm Kelly with Photography Hero, hoping to help you become a better photographer. And in this video, we are going to talk about editing in Photoshop. We're actually going to cover head swaps. This is something I do a lot for a lot of my clients, and so we're going to kind of share an easy way to do head swaps. So stay tuned. Okay, so this is something that is really useful for portrait photographers. I charge for this service because it takes time to do, and so it can be an added source of income, but it also is something that enables you to create a finished product for your client, enabling you to take an image that they like and make one or two tweaks, maybe swap a child's head out, and kind of create that perfect image that they're looking for. So it's really important that you know and understand how to do this. And so I do this quite often for my clients. This is something that is requested quite often from them. And so I've picked three images. This first image, it's going to be this young man right here. So if you look at that, I'll just hide the layers. Everyone was looking good in it, and he's looking off probably at a cousin. We were doing a large family image here, and so he is probably looking off at his cousin. And so let me just show you what I did. What I'll do initially is I'll just delete these layers. All right, and I have image 15 here, which is the better image of him. You can see that here. Now, they didn't choose this image because she's not looking as good, he's not looking as good, she's not looking as good, and he's not looking as good. So this is the better image. We just have one young man looking off. So what I'll do is I'll select the marquee tool, and I will just outline his head. I'll do a Command J, which is a new layer, which is a layer via copy right there. That's a Command J, okay, or a Control J on a Mac. So I'll take that and I'll drag, I will drag the new head onto the original image. Okay, I'll zoom in and I'll bring it over. Now it looks just a little bit larger than this head. And the reason for that could be that I cropped in. Maybe when on these two images the crop doesn't match. Maybe I stepped a little closer as I was shooting. I'm not sure what the difference is. Doesn't matter. But we want to make sure that we get the head size the right. So I have my rulers brought up here. If you don't have your rulers, you can go to View, Rulers right here to bring them up. What I'll do is just click and drag, and I'll usually go from forehead, before hair, to the chin, probably right there. And so we can see that this one's just a little bit larger. Okay, so I'll transform it. So a Command T will allow me to transform, a Control T, and I'll just shrink this one down just a little bit. Let's see, that's probably pretty close, right about there. Okay, so that's the first thing I do is I get the head about the same size. And if I put it on and it still doesn't look right, if it still looks large, I'll shrink it even more. But you want to get the size right first, because once we start adjusting it, it gets more difficult because then the adjustments you've made don't match perfectly. So do the size right. You'll also notice that his face looks a little bit darker here than it does here. And so I'll end up lightening his head in a second, but we'll do that last. So I'm going to bring this over. Okay, just kind of line it up, and I will actually take the opacity of the layer down to 50%, okay, so that I can kind of just get things right where I want to start. And a good rule of thumb here is to line up kind of this area right through here rather than trying to line up his mouth and things. The reason for that is because I want his neck and neckline to not move a lot. This area back here can be smoothed and made to to look good without much effort. But this area, if his neck looks weird or his neckline doesn't match up with the rest of his shirt, that's a more difficult one to match. And so that's what I'm looking at. Now, Photoshop is snapping, which is trying to get me to, select something in here. And so I'm going to actually probably go with that. I'm going to hold down the control key, and that quits it from snapping. And I'm going to probably go about right there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to full opacity. And I'm just going to look at that, and that looks pretty good right there. Okay, so then I'm going to bring up the eraser. Now, when I bring up the eraser, remember I'm working on a separate layer that has his head. I want to not be too soft of a brush. Okay, and I'm just going to come in. Let me shrink my brush down. I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to start trying to blend things together. And that's all this is a game of blending. Okay? And again, you can see the different color or the different tones of skin right there. And I'm going to come back and get that in a second. But the fewer pixels I disturb, the better, because as I start, like if I was to try to get his whole neckline here to match, I could run into some problems. So all I'll do is just get it as close to be able to use the original as possible. And that's going to enable this to go a lot quicker. Okay? I'm going to come through here. Now, as I'm dealing with this outside edge, I'm actually going to back that out just a bit. I'm going to go a little bit softer, because the more I can blend this background, the better. This background, I want it just to kind of blend in with what's already existing there. Okay, bring that little spot back. So just kind of blending now. This right here. And again, I know it's darker, and I'll fix that. Okay, so right through there. I'm still not loving that blend. So we'll come in a little bit tighter. Okay, and if you can see, you can start to see the old head poking through right there. But I can fix that, a piece of cake. Then we're going to come down here, and we're just going to try to blend the neckline right there. Let me see what I get from this, and I can always undo. Okay, so right through there. So we're pretty close already. Now, I want to lighten it up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the skin tones so those begin to match. So what I want to do is I want to do an adjustment layer, and I'm going to use a curve. Now I only want it to affect this layer right here. So if you hold down the Option or Alt key, this little arrow will appear as you hover between the two. And as I click on that, now what it means is as I adjust my curve, it's only going to adjust his head. Now something you'll notice is it has exposed an area that I haven't fixed that I probably don't want to have adjusted. So if I go back to my layer, I go back to my eraser, I can just erase that really quick. Now, of course, this is not how I want to leave this. So let's click back on my dot and bring it back up. Now, look again, start to notice right through here where we start to match. So that's going to tell me, so probably right there. Okay, and I'm just going to do a before and after. And you could see how this now matches better. This matches, and even kind of through here, these faces tend to get a little bit closer. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to get rid of this right here. And let's step back, because I can see a little bit of brightness right through here, and I can just see a little bit here. But as I look at the image full length, I don't notice that anymore. You can see there's highlights and shadow all through the background. And so this one right here, I'm not going to notice. And my clients aren't going to really kind of compare them so close. All they're going to want to see is that the head looks right on the body. Okay, so what I need now is I'm going to go back to my background layer, and I need to create a new layer, okay? So I've now created this new layer. If I was above the head swap layer, it's actually going to be above this head, which I don't want it to be above this head. I want it to be between these two. Okay, and I'm going to use the clone stamp tool. And I'm just going to get a small brush. I want a large feather on this, okay? And maybe just come right, let's sample from up in this area, which is holding down the Alt or the Option key, clicking, and then I'm just going to paint out that little bit of his head. Okay, again, if that was up here, it's on top of the new head layer, which I don't want it to be. I want it to be below the new head, but above the background. Okay, so let me back out. I'm going to hide those lines that I had there, and let's just look at the before and after. Before and after. Oops, there's the after. Okay, so that head swap probably, if I wasn't explaining it, would have taken me a minute and a half. I mean, really, it didn't take that long. And that's what we're going to cover, is kind of these easy head swaps where you're moving from an image where one person didn't look good, but they looked good in a different one, but same pose, same lighting, same everything. As you begin to move heads from different poses or different lighting, it gets a lot more difficult. And so when I'm doing a family session, what I will do is I will take several of the same pose, so that I have options like this to swap ahead. If you're only taking 3 or 4 images from kind of each pose that you do of the family, you're really going to hinder yourself if you need to move ahead in the future. So just be aware of that and take lots and lots of different images. Okay, so I'm going to close these ones down. Let's move to the other family that I have here. So, same situation. Everybody looked good on this one, except for this little girl right here. So, there it is, hidden. The layers are hidden. Okay, so the mom chose this image and asked that I bring her head from image 32, which is the image right before it. So, there she has a good head. Oh, and there she does not. So, let me delete these layers. Okay, so same thing. Marquee tool. I'm going to select, and I'm pretty generous with my selection. For me, it's a Command J on my Mac, which is a layer, new, layer via copy. Okay. Then I'm going to drag onto the image, the new head. Okay, let me close this one out because I don't need it anymore. Again, we want to check our head size. Now her chin is lifted, if you notice, so that might mean that this head might look a little bit larger, and so I don't want to enlarge this to make it look too big, but that seems pretty close. So I'm not going to adjust the head size. I'm not going to make it larger or smaller. I'm going to leave it as it is. If I need to come back afterwards and do it, I can. I'd rather do it now, but if I need to, I probably could to get away with it. Okay, so we're going to drop the opacity of this layer to 50%. Okay, and I'm just going to come in here, and again, I want to match this up, especially, let me take this back to 100%, especially because we have this pattern, this heavy pattern here. When someone has a pattern, it gets even more difficult to match a shirt. Because, there's natural folds that look on him. There's these natural folds that occur, and those can get hard to recreate. And so we want to make this as easy as possible. So we're going to match her head and really looking at the shirt. I'm going to go probably right there, maybe use my arrow keys to just up and down. I think somewhere about right there is going to be my best bet. So if I go back to full opacity on the layer, okay, I did that by just hitting the 0 key, and it took me back to full opacity. I'm going to go to my eraser, which is the E key. I'm a big fan of keyboard shortcuts. If you're not, get to know your friendly keyboard shortcuts because they smooth things along. All right, I want a little bit harder of a brush. Move that up. And then let's zoom in here and start to just blend. And again, I could go all the way to her hair, but do I need to? I don't, because this shirt is going to look great whether I go super close or whether I stay a distance. Now his is going to be more difficult because I have patterns on his, so I am going to have to cut a little bit closer. Now you can see some of her hair coming through. Do you see that? That's the underneath. So I'm going to delete that. And again, I'm going to try to avoid showing her hair. There's a little bit right there. I want to make this as simple as possible. And then down into his Levi's. Come down around. Now I get into her shirt. And this again is going to be a little bit more difficult. But again, I want to just try to get it to blend. I'm not trying to get things perfect. I'm not trying to remove all of the new one and just sit a head on top of a shirt and a neck. That's not going to work most of the time. What I'm doing is I'm simply trying to blend so that your eye doesn't notice it. That is what matters the most when you're doing a head swap. The more you try to just place some floating head onto a body, the more it's going to look fake. And so blending is the key. That shoulder's getting a little tough. I might back out of what I've done here and just see. I'm going to keep going at it for a second. Okay, there we go. That was feeling like I was getting a little clunky over there, but as I continued, it pulled through for me. Okay, there we go. So again, I don't need to go too close. So there's a few things I've noticed. I've got a little chunk of her old hair here and a few of these little flyaways here, maybe one up here. But let's zoom out and just take a look. Let me hide these lines and let's just see how it looks from a distance. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's zoom in closer, okay, and just take a look. And this is literally what I do. I see, let's look at it together. I see this wrinkle appearing up top, but does that look natural and real? To me it does. So I'm not going to worry about that. If this was your image, you could choose to. Let's look at this side of her head over here now, okay, and just see if there's anything that jumps out to us. Nothing. Let's look down through here, see if there's anything that jumps out to us. Just those additional hair, and honestly, I don't think anybody would notice that. So I may choose to leave that. You know what? I am going to choose to leave that. How about that? So let's choose, then let's look right down here at the bottom left of her head. See if there's anything jumping out. I see changes to hair. I see a shirt shift, but it all just looks like a body's moving instead of patterns that are repeating or overlapping or not connecting correctly. So I'm good with that. Now let's look at this bottom area over here. Okay, so I am seeing some chunkiness. I'm seeing this line not match. I'm also seeing this little corner appear and disappear. That is going to be noticeable. And so that tells me I need more work. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm just going to try to get this better. And I'm just going to do it slowly. Let me back out. I didn't like that little edge forming over there. So I get rid of that little corner that I saw appearing. And then this line right here. And I'm going to shrink down because I'm in all white. So I just need to get it close. Okay, I might even go, oops, let me back out of that. I don't like that. I might even go above this little line. No, I can't do it. I can't get it gone up there. Okay, so I'm going to back out. So now, let me get rid of this one too, so that we lose that a little bit. All right, so let's just look at it again. Okay, so that looks better. Maybe a touch over through here. I notice. Okay, I'm being picky down here just so that we can learn together. And now let's look. Okay, I've got kind of hair right here that looks like it's not connected, but because there's this bit right here that's connecting it, I feel it'll be fine. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer here because I just want to clean up this little line right here and then some of this hair over here. Now in the previous head swap, I did the new layer between the background layer and the layer that the new head is sitting on. So I put it right in here. On this one, I actually want to create it above the edited layer, because this line, these lines right here, are above the background layer. So there, I want to work with both layers together. So I did the keyboard shortcuts. You could go click right here to create a new layer. You want to make sure current and below is selected up here so that it's working with all the layers together. I'm going to zoom in. Okay. I want to make sure I have so first First I want to use the clone stamp right here. Clone stamp tool. Okay, which is the keyboard shortcut S. Then I want to make sure I have a soft brush, a little bit of a harder brush, because I am working with sharp lines. So I'm going to hold down the Option or the Alt key, click there, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to put that line right there. And then let me fix the hair. There we go. All right, so now that line to me feels right. So again, on, off, on, off. We're feeling that, right? So that looks better to me. Staying with this new layer up here, I just am going to get rid of some of these hairs right through here. So for this, we are going to use the healing brush tool. We can actually use the spot healing brush. And if you remember, the spot healing brush, you do not choose an area to clone from. The healing brush tool uses an area. So I'm going to use the spot healing where Photoshop itself chooses where to clone from. Let me turn those back on. Let me get a smaller brush, and then I'm just going to paint over that. And it's not going anywhere. Oh, I don't have sample all layers clicked. So let's click on that. Let's try that again. There we go. That looks better. That was what I was expecting to have happen. See, just like everyone else, we have to figure out what's going wrong with our Photoshop. Okay. So there is that image. Let's go to the before. Let's go to the after. Again, that one took a little bit longer, but if I wasn't explaining things to you, that literally would have taken 2 minutes. But that's how I do it. I do the head swap, and then I just turn it on and off, on and off, on and off, as I look around the image to make sure that it is clean to my eye. All right, let's close this one out. And let's go to my last one. This one was for the Salt Lake City Council, which I had shot. Let me hide those, but you know what those lines are there for. Okay, that is the finished image with 2 or maybe 3 head swaps. Let's look here. 2 head swaps and a thumb removal. So I did a head swap here, I did a head swap here, and I did a thumb removal here. So on, off. You can look at those. Her head changes, his head changes, and that thumb be gone. So let's do that together. Okay, so let me open up 21 and 24. Okay, so here is 21. This is where I took, let's verify, this is where I took his head from. So apparently they didn't want such a big smile. Okay, so let's do that right now. Again, I'm going to use the marquee tool. I'm going to just drag around, Command J. Okay, drag it onto the new image. I can close that one out. We can do the same thing here. This is her smile, a bigger smile with her. Marquee tool, Command J, right there. Okay, drag it onto the new image. Close that out. So now I have my new heads here on my old image. So let's work with this one. I right click and click on layer 1. Okay, let's first make sure that our size matches up. Oh, I can see why they didn't like that. As I zoomed in, he looks like he's having too much fun in the original image. So let's do the same thing here. Now let's get rid of these old ones. You can get rid of them by just clicking and dragging up, highlighting over it, clicking and dragging up. So let's make sure this head matches. It actually looks a touch smaller if you look at that. Let me go up here, line that up, and just a touch smaller. So I am going to make it larger. And again, I'm making it larger by holding a Command T down, which is the transform, free transform, Command T. So that's under Edit, free transform. So that's about the right size right there. Okay, so let's go to 50% onto the layer, and let's drag that one over. Let's kind of line up the shirt. Again, that's where we're going crazy. Now, notice he's tipped a little bit more here. This shoulder drops, this shoulder does not. So I now have to make the decision. Do I want to transform it and try to get his shoulders right, which I can do? Or do I want to not transform it, which I'm going to say I do not want to transform it, and I am going to just try to line up his head and try to make this match. And we'll see how that goes. That can be tricky. So I've lined up his head, but again, you can see the shoulders don't match at all. I'm thinking this isn't going to work, but let's give it a shot. So I'm going to come in here, and again, I want about a 72% in hardness, which gives me a good hardness, but still some softness. And I am just trying to blend. I am not trying to just place a head on top of a neck. Okay, so we're looking pretty good as I come through here. Now I'm going to go smaller because I'm hopefully not going to touch his face. Looks like there's a little bit appearing under there. So I may have to come in and fix that. Let's see how we do as we come down here with this. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's make that bigger. And the more you do this, the more it will become kind of a second nature to you. I'm going to make this less hard as I come through this area. Make my brush softer so that this blends better. Now you'll notice there's a little bit difference in sharpness here. This one seems a little sharper than this one. So that can be fixed by adding a little bit of a blur on the new head that I've moved in. That may seem counterintuitive to you, but we want these things not to be noticed. And if that means I have to blur a new head to make it not be noticeable that it's different, then that is what I will do. Okay, so do you see how this all looks very natural and normal? So we will come down here. Oops, why am I messing with that? I'm going to probably have to mess with it through here, though. So let's see. There we go. That looks pretty good. Let's come in through here and see where I have to go. You can see them kind of coming together right there. That is a good spot to go to. All right, and let's see. That doesn't look too bad. Let me see. Nope, I'm not liking that, so I'm going to back out. And I could even hit 50% on my brush. So I'm in the brush. I hit the 5 key. That takes this to 50%. And what I can do is just kind of start to blend. Again, the blending is the key. So I'm not 100% erasing now. I'm 50% erasing. Okay? So let's look at that. Let me hide my lines. And then let's do a before and after. Before, after. So let's start right up here and just look at this area. And I'm okay. Those lines maybe right through here. Let me go back to 100% up here. Hitting the 0 key takes it back to 100. Let me go up here. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. I'm all, what is happening here? So let's go here and right through there. So that feels better to me. Okay, that looks good. This all looks, where's my cursor? This all looks fine up through here. I don't think that is going to have a problem, but I can get rid of that like I just did. Let me look to this side of his head and just kind of on, off. Little bit of a tonal difference that I'll fix. Okay, around to down to here to his lapel, right here. Go right there. That looks fine to me. This where his shirt comes together looks good to me as well. These are just the things I look for. A little bit of something right here. Okay, so let's get the tone right. So we do that with a curve. Okay, we click on our curve, and then remember we hold the Option or the Alt key down to connect those together. And I'm looking at the background right here. It seems a little bit lighter. So let me just make some adjustments here. Probably right there. So there's a before, there's an after. He almost has a little bit of a glow in the before, and the after takes it down. That sharpness, like I said, we can adjust that. I can come here and I could go to filter, blur, and I could add just a bit of a Gaussian blur here. That's way too much. Let's take it down right there. And let's see. Just kind of inch this up right there. And let me do a before and an after. Okay, so let's zoom out and let's look just at him, okay? And he looks good. Okay, let's move over to her and let me reveal my lines. Okay, and let's just line up these and make sure the head looks the same size. Okay, and it looks like it does. The wispy hairs are a little bit different, but if I look at eyebrows, the distance between the eyebrows looks about right. Hide that one. Okay, go to 50%, line up the coat. Okay, bring it back. Go to my eraser. I want a 70-ish percent. That's just a number. You could choose whatever you want right there, but I'm wanting to... Actually, you know what? Because I'm blurring or blending this background, I'm going to actually, because I've started up here, I'm going to go to a little bit softer of a brush, just so it blends just a little bit better. Okay. Get rid of this, get rid of this, make sure my lines back there match. Okay, just kind of come in through here, natural stone so it can have different looks. Okay, as I'm coming into her jacket and into his jacket, I'm going to want to put that up at about 70% roughly. And this is where we come in and kind of do that fine-tune blend. Again, just to make it look right. That looks good to me. Again, these lines down here. Oops, I went too far. Right there. Blend this a little bit. Come over here. Blend that. Now, does that look odd because it kind of cuts right there? I think I could have got away with that, but let's go a little bit higher into the neck and just come right through there. That's actually a better blend anyway. Whoops. Oh man, I'm hitting the wrong key left and right. Sorry about that. Zoom out, zoom back in. I don't even know what key I hit right there, but I hit a key. All right, so let's now blend right through here. Okay. Let's get that collar back to having its double-breasted point. And right through there. Okay. So again, I'm going to go up into the natural stone, so I'm going to be softer through here. Just kind of start to blend that. Oops, I went too far because I don't need that dark appearing right there. And right through there, it looks good. So let me just kind of do an on, off, on, off. Okay, I'm seeing something right through here, and it is this stone. I have this line that comes down, and then it jumps over, and then it stays over. Now, could I leave that and probably get away with it? Yes, I think, that could be an anomaly in the stone behind, but I'm not going to. I don't want that, and so I am going to get more finicky about it. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to even, did you see how I just meshed a little bit of the other head's hair into this one? Oh, I'm not liking that because that's getting bigger. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to fix that. So what I'm doing now is trying to just outline the new head, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, it will in a minute. So I'm outlining the new head. Okay. Because all of that's going to have to be removed from below. So let's continue to outline the new. And I'm going to just go right to there. And we'll see how that looks. Okay, and there's probably going to have to be a little bit of cleanup in here too. Let me finish this off. Get up here. Okay. Right through there. So we're going to have to adjust that. So this one's proven to be a little bit more tricky. Okay, so I've got this now looking good. The back wall is now looking more natural, but she's not. I've got this appearing, I've got this appearing. So what I will do is this is a layer right here. I'm going to click on the one right below it. I'm going to create a new layer right there. So I now have a new layer, and I am going to use my clone stamp tool. I'm going to sample from over here, and what I'm going to do is just remove that old head. And I'm removing the old one because if you remember, I outlined the new one. So this is getting rid of what is below this layer. The layer that's above, this is the new head, remains, and I'm going to have to do a little bit of touch-up work there. Look, I erased an earring. No, that was a mistake on my part. So we come through here. I'm going to make this bigger and really kind of bring this back. All right, how we doing? Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. So let's back up. Probably just leave it at that. Am I right? Are you thinking the same thing? Let's go softer to blend this better. Are you feeling me on that? That's going to be better just to be left? Okay, so a couple things that I need to fix here is I'm going to need to go back to this original one, and there's an outline to her ear now. So I'm going to bring a harder brush because I'm going to go right up against the skin, and I'm just going to get rid of this little outline that's here. I hope you saw that. Okay, and that earring, let's see if I've got it in the original. I do. So I've cut off the bottom of the earring right here. One thing I can do is I can go to the bottom, I can select it, okay, right there with my rectangle marquee tool. I can Command J to create a layer of that earring. I can now bring it to the top. Let me make all the layers visible again, okay, and let me move my little earring around. I can come right there. Can you tell any difference now? Or does it look like that earring never changed? Okay, so let's look at her before, after, just kind of look around, especially look at her jacket. Her jacket looks fine to me. I see differences, and I know you do too, but those differences aren't going to be noticeable. The natural stone, I see differences, but those are not going to be natural. Her ear looks good now, hair looks good. This little portion up here, which I blended, I think looks fine. No one's going to notice that. You could go in and fix it if you liked. Okay, last thing, and I can do it really quick, is that thumb right there. Create a new layer. I like to do this on layers, so if I ever have to come back, so if a client ever says, I don't like what you did right there, I can go back and I can fix it. If you do this on the flattened image, you run into some troubles. You can't back out. Let's get rid of that layer. So all I did, I guess I didn't tell you what I did. I just did it. That's my second nature taking over. I am using the clone stamp tool right there. I pick a line up here. I match that line down here, and I just paint over where a thumb was. Okay, that's going to be fine. Okay, so there, that image is before, after, before, after, before, after. Looks great. I hope you understand how to do that. There are many, many ways to do head swaps, and we're not going to cover them all in this video. This is to show you how I quickly can do head swaps for clients on images. So hopefully you've learned a lot. If you would, hit subscribe for me. It helps my videos to get seen by more people, the more people that subscribe. How do you do head swaps? If you do them differently, I'd like to hear about it in the comments, and I'll reply to those. But hit subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this. Again, Kelly from Photography Hero, thanks for being here. Bye-bye.